Hit record.
Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 Men, 1 podcast. Every black film ever made. My name is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble. And as always, I'm joined by my partner.
Hey, it's Vincent Williams.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special show for you because all during the month of December, Vince and I are taking time to review films with other podcasters because why not? And we couldn't get this started without having a return visit from one of our favorite guests. Actually, when I was looking at our roster, Vince, there's only been one person who now will have been on the Micheaux Mission 3 times, Vince. This marks her 3rd stop on the visit. And that person is one Jordan Kauwling of Maximum Fun Network's The Flophouse. And here she is, ladies and gentlemen. There she is.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We hear you fine, Jordan. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I don't get like a blazer. I don't get like a jacket, like a smoker's jacket, nothing.
I was thinking that. Perhaps the hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
The hat right on top of here. Yeah.
Yeah, what's in the hat? It looks like you've got quite a lovely outfit back there on a mannequin at I guess at your palatial estate in California.
Yeah, this is the home studio. Otherwise known as my bedroom.
Oh.
How you doing, Jordan? It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I miss you guys. I'm wonderful. How are you?
We're fine. We're still in Philly.
Yeah.
Is it snowing?
No.
No, I don't know about these things. Is it cold there? I don't know about those things.
It actually is cold. It actually is cold today.
It is very
sorry.
cold today, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. But it may get a little heated here tonight on the Micheaux Mission as Jordan has come upon the mission tonight to review 2020's Bad Hair, the new film written and directed by Justin Simien. This promises to be quite a review tonight here on the Micheaux Mission, and want to thank each and every one of you out there who's joining us, watching us as we stream live on Facebook and on YouTube. Jordan, you're out there in California, and you're doing big things. You're with Maximum Fun, and if people don't know Maximum Fun Network, that is one of the premier podcast networks in the country. And Jordan just, happened to tippy toe out of Philadelphia and find her way as a producer on there. You're doing big things over there, Jordan.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Thank you. That's so nice. That's so sweet to say. I just want to shout out. First of all, I want to shout out everybody who is on the live stream, everyone who's watching, whether you're in Philly, whether you're in LA, or wherever the hell you're at. Hopefully you're home. With your mask on if you're not. And I want to say hello to all the Max Fun sters, all of the members, all of the staff. I am blessed to work on Bullseye with Jesse Thorne, which airs on NPR. I also work on The Flophouse, and I work on Fantai, which I just want to shout them out because we just won. We're just honored with Apple Podcasts, like one of their 2020 favorites or something like that. So I just want to shout out Jared Travell, which is another show that I am honored to produce. So, yeah.
Okay.
I was about to say.
Listen to Bree 517 says, I listen to Maximum Fun podcasts a lot. So she definitely is a fan. And Deborah Battle says, hello, Jordan. So the people are sharing their love with you, Jordan.
Absolutely.
So now, Jordan, real quick.
Yes.
We started together, you and I, on the humble little radio stations of Philly Cam here in Philadelphia. And
shout out to Philly Cam.
Shout out to Philly Cam. where you were the host of the Philly on Location radio show. And now you're out there in California, which I understand is actually going back home for you. Is that right?
It is. I'm a little bit of a reverse Fresh Prince because I'm originally from I'm from LA, and then my family moved back east. So I was living in Philly, and now I'm back here in LA. So it's a little bit of a little bit of a culture shock. We don't have like backdoor or anything like that. We don't have gritty. You know, everyone's very nice. Everyone's very kind. So I took a little bit of the East Coast with me. Yeah, everyone's a little weird, but very nice. And I have an attitude problem for the people out west. But that's just that regular Philly stank, you know.
Is that what they say you got? They say you got that Philly stank on you. Is that what they say?
People are just very nice. So when you speak to them, you're like, okay, sweetie, cut to the chase. What are we saying here? Like, you know, spit it out.
Right.
Yeah. But when I was out in Philly, everybody was like, what are you saying? Shut up, little girl. So, you know, I don't really. Anyway, hello, Philly. Hello, LA.
It's all good. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us for this review of Bad Hair, and we're going to talk about a couple of the podcasts. One of the podcasts in particular that you produce, the Flophouse, in just a little bit. But Vince, first, as always, we have to start our show. We have some listener mail that we have to follow
mail.
On. Yeah. We've got listener mail. Let's see here. Hold on one moment as I go to the emails. Vince, our first email is from Faith Hodge.
Hey, Faith.
She says, I want to thank you all for the hard work you do with the podcast. My husband and I enjoy listening. I recently watched a movie on Netflix called The 40-Year-Old Version. It's about a Black woman who wants to play right. That's what she writes. I think she maybe messed up. And as you can guess, has a hard time on her journey, because if I understand the movie, it's about a 40-year-old Black woman who wants to get into hip hop. Her mother recently dies, and in terms of her work, she is encouraged to compromise. It's filmed in black and white, and it gives off a she's got a habit feel. Please check it out and see about adding it to the podcast. Have you seen the 40-year-old version yet, Vince?
I have not, but it is on my short list, and I think it at least did the festival. So I think it's in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, did the festival circuits. How about you, Jordan? Have you taken the time to check out the 40-year-old version yet?
I haven't watched it yet, but it is my current show. Everybody has a show that like you're supposed to be watching, and you tell people you've seen it just so you can sound cool and smart. So it's my current show that I'm like, oh yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And they're like, what's it about? And I'm like, you just got to watch it for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so insightful.
Yeah. I use dynamic. Yeah, I use
it's dynamic. One of those things you can just get away with, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that's dope. It's dope. Yeah. And then you just move on. But yes, we definitely will be checking that out in the new year here on the Micheaux Mission. We also got a couple of emails, Vince, from, actually it was just one, no, it was a couple of emails, I know it was, from Aziza Taylor.
Hey, Aziza.
All right? She emailed us in regards to our review last week of A Raisin in the Sun.
Okay.
What an impassioned assessment by both of you. Up until now, I thought the play really wasn't relevant to today. But when Vince talked about the main protagonist, I immediately thought of Donald Trump and how he and his family were responsible for keeping the quote-unquote American dream away from people of color through exclusion from white neighborhoods. Are we still living through this? Interesting question there.
Yeah, especially, I mean, and I'm trying not to get triggered, because this is actually one of the things I am passionate about. I mean, when you think about Donald Trump himself making his fortune off of real estate.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
right.
You think about how real estate is so connected to wealth. Like we all kind of throw around these stats that white families have 13% more wealth than black families, but we never really unpack it. Like the way people have wealth in this country, nobody has stocks and bonds. Like nobody is the Howells on Gilligan's Island.
Very true.
Everybody, when you track their family wealth, it goes to houses. Like my grandmama had a house, and they took out a loan to send my parents to college, or they, got a second mortgage to do this, or the house kind of, grew in value, all the things we talk about. And so much of it goes back to like the GI Bill and how black people were kept out of those benefits.
Right.
So yeah, Raising in the Sun, kind of that real estate being in the center of it is nothing but America. Like that's 100% America. And yeah, Donald Trump is like the perfect 21st century villain when you look at that part of his ascension. So, and I'll stop because again, I can talk about a Raising in the Sun for the next 2 hours if you want. Who want to talk about the Raising in the Sun? Somebody order some wings.
Okay. We did a whole show about that, Vince. And people, you can check that out in the Micheaux Mission feed. Aziza Taylor also wrote us and says, in regards to rantings, and specifically famous rantings on the Micheaux Mission.
Appropriately enough.
How could I have forgotten Vincent's rant on Tyler Perry's Temptation, a film by Tyler Perry, or any Tyler Perry movie review? This ish just don't make sense. Agreed. The Regrets episode is also one not to miss, which can be found in the Binge Lounge hashtag The Curse of the Meteor Man and Other Concerns.
Aziza is a real missionary. Like she's
She
old
is.
school missionary.
You know what? That just brought to mind something that I just forgot. Jordan is appearing on the show for the third time.
Yeah.
But this could have been her fourth time on the show, Vince, because she was actually one of the reviewers on the very first time we reviewed Meteor Man that did not work out. I just remembered that.
I forgot about that. The lost episode.
That's right. You are part of the fabric of the curse of the Meteor Man.
I forgot all about that. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, well, that means that now, Jordan, we have an invitation for you. Mm-hmm. Vince and I have made a pact, because I don't know if you're aware, that since that episode, I think on 2 other occasions, we've sat down to review Meteor Man, and it hasn't worked out. So we have made a pact that the very last episode of the Micheaux Mission will be our review of Meteor Man.
Wow.
So Jordan, you're welcome to come join us if you finally want to sit down and review that film.
Can I cosplay as James Earl Jones's character in the movie?
You 100% can.
I 100% will.
That's very true. All right, that is a date. That is a date. Bree 517 says that Vincent's rant on Driving Miss Daisy is what brought me to this podcast. And Junior Lex says that the Miss Daisy rant is one of the funniest things I've heard in years.
Will follow us for the rest of our lives.
Yes, that will be there you go. That's our hill. Sherry D also emailed us, Vince.
Hey, Sherry D.
Thanks for your review of Raisin in the Sun. I love this film and I can watch it over and over again. There never was, is, or will be anything like the great Diana Sands. There once was a clip on YouTube of Diana Sands and Al Freeman Jr.'s performance in James Baldwin's Blues for Mr. Charlie. I can't locate it now, But I found this New York Times review of that 1964 play. Among the cast were Ralph Waite, Joe Don Baker, Rosetta Lenore, and Rip Torn, directed by Burgess Meredith, no less.
Wow.
Imagine being in a theater seat, watching Diana Sands and Al Freeman Jr. and this cast on stage in this magnificent work.
Wow.
A few years ago, I was fortunate enough to see A Raisin in the Sun on Broadway with Denzel Washington, Sophia Okonedo, and Anika Noni Rose. Diane Carroll was supposed to play Lena Younger, but due to health issues, she bowed out, and Latanya Richardson Jackson stepped in. It was simply good theater. There are no words. And now for something completely different. Last week, you spoke of The Sopranos and The Wire, two shows that I absolutely love. I also dig Homicide: Life on the Streets. Another series that I want to mention is Blackstone, which examines life on and off the reservation for a group of Native American characters on a fictional Native reservation in Canada. It stars Eric Schweig, a good actress named Micheaux, and a cast of some really talented and accomplished Native actors. It's actually a bit of Sopranos, a bit of The Wire, and more, and currently streams for free on Tubi. I'd recommend, if you haven't seen it before, it's an intense contemporary Native drama with interesting storylines. Anyway, thank you for being there for us during these crazy times. All the best during the holiday season and beyond. Sherry D.
All right. Thank you, Sherry D. I'll add Blackstone to my list.
Yeah, I will too. I'm not familiar.
I will pretend to have watched it.
I was about to say, what do you think about Blackstone, Jordan?
It's so good. You just got to jump right in. I'll let you find out for yourself. It's so good.
It's very insightful.
Yeah, insightful and dynamic. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And dynamic. Yes,
mm-hmm.
yes.
Yeah.
Wow, it's almost like you were there. So we, well, thank you. We thank each and every one of you that hits us up and sends us your listener mail. We really appreciate it. We are here to review Bad Hair, but before we do, Vincent had brought up something last week that I was not aware of at the time, and I'm curious of whether or not Jordan is aware of this, and I had time to check this out. The comedian Dave Chappelle did a quick little, I guess like 18-minute concert video, as it were, that he posted to Instagram called Unforgiven, if I'm correct. And he speaks about, his point of view on what happened between him and Comedy Central, and also in regards to why the Chappelle Show, which premiered on Netflix a few weeks ago, summarily left Netflix not long ago. Are you aware of this video?
Yeah,
Jordan?
I am aware of it. Yeah, I'm rooting for Dave, but he's the one show that I produce, Fans High. We actually we are all about complicated faves and wrestling with the complex and complicado, as we say, of people who either are our heroes or used to be our heroes, or who we would want to kind of look up to. And we did an episode on Chappelle following his SNL guest host from a few weeks ago gig. And yeah, I wanna root for Dave. He gives me a lot of reasons not to, but one thing Dave's gonna always do is speak the truth. And well, the one thing that I used to be able to count on Dave to always do is speak the truth. But I think that when it's coming from the vantage point of Blackness, and coming from the vantage point of treating Black men, cis het Black men, with equity, I think that you can count on Dave to speak his truth.
That very narrow lane.
Yeah. You
is what I'm getting from you.
Got yourself fitted in right in there.
Right.
Yeah, he knows.
Thread that needle.
Yeah, he's in his wheelhouse. I will say that about. about Dave. But what do you think about him?
Well, I'll turn to Vince, because Vince was the one. Don't give me that look, because you were the one who upon seeing it, definitely wanted to talk about it here on the show.
Yeah. I guess I'll approach it from the business angle of it. I am obviously really interested in issues of ownership and sort of trans platform issues of ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he is, as he kind of said in the you called it a concert. I think it's funny Dave Chappelle don't even tell jokes anymore. Have you noticed that? That he stopped telling jokes? Like, he's not even telling jokes anymore. He's just sort of, being a truth sayer and just kind of doing Dave stuff. But I do think as these platforms splinter and move and we talk about different ways, frankly, of being entertained
mm-hmm.
and of reaching different audiences, in my mind, this is another part of the conversation you and I had a couple of weeks ago about these films moving to streaming platforms and what that means. And just to piggyback what you said, Jordan, because Dave is very narrowly speaking truth about a very specific type of blackness, and I, frankly like to think unless we all free, ain't none of us free. So I don't, the older I get, the less kind of room I have to deal with that. I'm more interested in the business side of it. If I'm going to listen, to it. And as far as that is concerned, I think it's fantastic that someone in his position is making these moves, because it seems like we all flip the TV, we all see these things, we all watch these shows over and over, and the Chappelle Show, I think, is a perfect example of a show or of a form of entertainment that is ripe for exploitation, because we all watch it in so many different ways. Like, it pops up on Facebook, mm-hmm. you flip the channels and it's on some channel, and how are you compensated as the content creator? And how are we going to redefine what that looks like? So to me, that's what really fascinated me about the conversation. Like, I mean, I'll just quote him. He signed the contract, but does it make it right? So.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Jordan, go ahead.
I'm just agreeing with you. I want to root for him, and I'm not saying that it would be incorrect to do so. I just wonder where all this energy was, for when Monique had her issues with Netflix. Where were I just, it always seems as a Black woman that we are tasked with rallying around Black men making business moves. And that same energy isn't given to the rest of the Black diaspora, to Black women, to Black, LGBTQI plus community. Like, Dave, sorry, go ahead.
No. I feel you. I didn't necessarily, just a little commentary on what you said about Monique, without knowing the full story about Monique. The what little bit I was able to glean or read up on the idea that it was like kind of like a money thing, and she thought she should have gotten X amount of dough, and such got this dollar amount. Why can't I get that dollar amount? And I mean, there's rallying around, but there's also how much you really worth, right? And while I cape for everybody getting every dime that they want, I also recognize the economics of sometimes some person, for whatever reason, sometimes due to the color of their skin, and sometimes due to their talent, or just where they are in the culture or zeitgeist at the moment, may be worth more than someone else. So I didn't really get too that deep on the Monique train. I know a lot of people of other color, whether they were black or whomever, got nice checks. So I was like, I wasn't going to sweat about that. The thing about Dave Chappelle, while I hear you, Vince, about the whole ownership deal, and that is cool, and it's cool that he's at a point in his career where he's able to flex and get Netflix to take the show off the air. And if he's asking us to boycott not watching the show, it's like, whatever. What bothers me about him, and I think this is kind of in line with where you and your show went, Jordan, is that, the one thing I've always enjoyed about Dave Chappelle, like you said, Vince, he's no longer a joke teller. He's more like a true sayer. He's more somebody that actually just gets up on the stage, and while there are definitely jokes there, for the most part, he's going through a monologue. He's just giving you, a stream of consciousness, and he really, quite as kept, he's doing a podcast on air. He's doing what Mark Maron does at the beginning of every one of his podcasts. But he's just doing it on the stage, and he's putting it out there in these little 10, 15-minute bits on YouTube and Instagram and what have you. But Mark Maron is doing that because his comedy, his approach to comedy, and his approach to relating to people has developed and grown over his lifetime, especially the lifetime of him doing his podcast. And while the mechanics of how Dave is putting his stuff out there, there are sometimes in his stories and in his mannerisms, there is evidence that there is a lack of growth in what he's doing. He's funny as hell, but there's sometimes he resorts to some derogatory, some misogynistic type of language and attitudes that he certainly seems that he's enlightened enough to be past, and he doesn't have to be putting out there in his comedy. And what makes it worse is that when he is called on the carpet for it, and I don't mean by like the Twitter trolls who just start screaming at him, because at some point you do have to turn them off. But I'm sure that for every 1,000 knucklehead on Twitter that's yelling at him, there's somebody who is probably, if not a peer, someone who can definitely bend his ear, whose opinion he respects, who's probably getting in his ear about it. Yet he staunchly, wants to be like, hey, a joke is a joke is a joke. But there's sometimes when a joke is not a joke, and you have to evolve past that. I think about when Richard Pryor famously went to Africa and then came back on his concert film and talked about how, I walked all over Africa, and I saw somebody that looked like little JoJo from down the street, and I saw my cousin Ray Ray and Aunt Jenny and everything. But the one thing I didn't see is I didn't see any niggas. You know what I mean? And he made a conscious effort to try and take that out of his lexicon as far as him doing his comedy and the things that he would do subsequently. Was he always successful? No, but he acknowledged it at least, and he acknowledged that he was going to try and make that change. You know what I mean? And with Dave Chappelle, there oftentimes is like this staunch, nah, I'm going to be me, and it comes off as like, I'm smarter than you and everybody else. And that sometimes rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm like you, Jordan. I want to cape up for the dude because I do appreciate him. And I do think that he is one of the, if not one, the funniest guys who steps on that stage right now. I can't give it up for you until you acknowledge that. Even in the Unforgiven, I think not even that. And there was one bit, Vince, me and you talked about it, where he was coming down on all the people that were following Trump and everything like that. And he was calling them all idiots, but he still went out of his way to call the women the B words, right? And there was actually one white guy who he defended. I don't really know you, so I'm not going to call you out of your name. But a chick that he doesn't know, he called the B word. And like, that ain't cool. I that mentality, and he's smarter than that. He's better than that, and that really is. I find it actually very disappointing.
All right.
Anyway, on another note, Ariel Johnson says, "Hey Jordan." So just wanted to.
Hey Ariel. Ariel is, of course, the owner of Amalgam Comics.
Amalgam Comics and Coffee House.
And Coffee House.
Yes. Which brings me to a very special request, if you two don't mind, that I want to put out there to the missionaries out there. And
okay.
This is gonna be weird, but just ride with me. Okay. Now, in these crazy COVID days, businesses aren't operating the same. I'm sure they're not operating the same out there for you as well, Jordan. And speaking of Amalgam Comics and Coffee House, which sells comic books, which you can still buy online at amalgamphilly.com, but they were also a coffee house. And not only were they a coffee house with premier coffee that I never tasted because I don't drink coffee, but they had great tea. But they had original pastries there that were lovingly made, be quiet, Vince, that were lovingly made by the owner, Ariel Johnson. Ariel, who would also bake the best chocolate chip cookies in the world. I don't know, when you were here in Philly, or if you ever come back to Philly, have you had an opportunity to taste Ariel's chocolate chip cookies, Jordan?
I have not. I've had a bunch of the pastries that are served at Amalgam, and I've never had an opportunity to have the cookies. No one has sent me any cookies. I feel some kind of way that I've never tasted these cookies. But
well, we may never get these cookies again, because since COVID, Amalgam Comics, the kitchen has been closed, and they have not been making any chocolate chip cookies. Now, I've dealt with this since April, and as all the people who work at Amalgam and all the patrons at Amalgam will know, I would go to Amalgam not once, not twice, but often 3 times a week to buy at least 2 of these huge computer-sized chocolate chip cookies because they were that good. But I've been without that, and that's fine. But it's Christmas time. And the one thing I look forward to at Christmas, which
why do you sound like you're about to cry?
Because
Jordan, I have no idea what's going on. You would think he doesn't know Ariel.
Okay.
Vince, you think I haven't asked Ariel to make me chocolate chip cookies? And she is
shame her? Are you trying to shame her?
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to shame her. She's got rightful reasons not to make them. I completely understand why the store is closed. I completely understand that.
Completely off the rails at this point. Just rot it out.
Christmas time.
Just rot it out.
And I don't know about you, I like getting cookies at Christmas, but I only eat one cookie, and that's chocolate chip cookies. So, missionaries, I'm asking you, where can I get good chocolate chip cookies?
Oh my God.
I don't know, Vince. I don't know. I was addicted to Ariel's chocolate chip cookies. I need some other place to get good chocolate. I can't get Chippeways. They're not the same. You go to like ShopRite, you go to a couple of the local places, y'all don't know where I live, but where I live in Philly, there ain't no good chocolate chip cookies. There ain't no good, I'll put it out. Port Richmond don't have good chocolate chip cookies. I need some good chocolate chip cookies. I don't care where they are. Tell me, missionaries. Email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. Please tweet us at Micheaux Mission. Hit us up on Instagram.
You okay over there, Jordan? Are you good? You didn't know you signed up for all this, did you?
I didn't know. I mean, did it dawn on you to maybe ask for the recipe?
I don't know. Yeah,
I can't ask her for the recipe. It's a recipe.
But he can do this.
It's like her own recipe. I feel like her mother handed it down from like,
I'm embarrassed for you.
Terrible. This is terrible, isn't it? Terrible, isn't it? See, this is also taping during COVID, because if we were together at this point, I would have reached my hand out and put it on his shoulder.
Orphan Pixels wants to know, does she ship to England? She does ship comic books to England. She doesn't ship chocolate chip cookies, but she will ship some comic books to England. And George Kimona is recommending Insomnia cookies. I like Insomnia cookies. They're not bad. They're not bad.
Hi, George Carmona.
She says. All right. Camellia says, somebody get this man a chocolate chip cookie. All right.
Or a hug or something. Jesus. Somebody give him Jesus. Something.
I don't yuck on yum. So if you like it, I love it.
Oh, that's cute. I don't yuck on yums. I gotta tell you. All right. Before we get into our review of Bad Hair, Jordan, one of the shows that you that you produce for the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, I believe is actually a movie review show. Is that correct?
It is. I'm a producer on the Flop House, which is a part of the Max Fun Network, and it's a real crazy concept. It's three white guys talking about a movie. I know you never heard of that before.
Interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, but these are three of my favorite white guys. They're Elliot Kalin, who you may know from he worked on The Daily Show. Dan McCoy, who currently works on The Daily Show, and Stuart Wellington, who has an amazing bar in Brooklyn, I believe, called Hinterlands. They review a bad movie and then they talk about it. The interesting thing about the Flop House is it is the first podcast that I ever listened to. And if it wasn't for the podcast, I probably would not be a podcast producer. It was the first podcast I ever listened to, and I said, no, this sounds like fun. I like the dynamic. I like talking about movies. Without the Flop House, I probably would never have stepped foot into Philly Cam and started Philly on Location, where me and my co-host Rel Brown talked about movies that we sometimes didn't really watch. And there was an episode that Rel and I did where we were both too busy to watch the movie, but we both lied to each other, but we didn't want to admit that we were lying. And we're talking about the movie, and he's talking about all the stuff that was in like the cinema sins, like what's wrong with it, like a YouTube video, and we would watch the same video because we were making the same points, and we just looked at each other like, you didn't watch this damn movie.
It was dynamic.
It was a dynamic movie. You just got to check it out for yourself. Yeah, but the Flop House is every Saturday on the Maximum Fun Network. Every other week, we do a full movie review episode. And then on the off weeks, we do like a mini where we talk about silly things. They talk about silly things. So yeah, check it out, Flop House.
So how do you, or how does the show decide what is a bad movie? Is it like, is it by it's a flop? Is it considered a flop movie? Is it the box office, or is it, critic reviews? How do you determine that?
So I don't make the decisions on the movie. That goes to Dan McCoy. But I know that as far as what goes into them selecting movies and what makes, in my opinion, a good movie podcast where you're talking about a bad movie is not to just pick a movie that has been like panned worldwide. Don't pick it off of like a Metacritic number. Pick it off of I don't know if anyone reads the AV Club website. Mm-hmm. So I forget who the critic is, but he'll sometimes give a movie like a D- or a D. And that's a movie it's not good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not even the good bad movie you want to talk about is the one that he gives an F, because that movie really put work into being bad. or really put work into being good and just miss the mark incredibly. And those are the interesting movies that you really want to be able to like engage with. So I was able to guest on the Flophouse a couple of months ago when we talked about Will Smith's Gemini Man. And there's a lot to love about what that movie wanted to be. But for me, the meat of it was really about all the ways that this movie that could have been something, could have really like revolutionized the way we do CGI and just was so boring and missed the mark. That's another thing that you generally don't want your movie to be boring. So I'd rather watch an interesting, horrible movie than a boring, great movie any day of the week. But yeah, that kind of goes into the movies that are picked for the Flophouse. Is it fun to talk about? Yeah.
All right. And you can check out the Flophouse, ladies and gentlemen, at the Flophouse Pod on Twitter. And you can go to the flophousepodcast.com, I believe is the website, and check out the show. Or just look up Maximum Fun. Go to Maximum Fun, and all their podcasts are right there for you to check out. And that is one of the podcasts that Jordan Kauwling is the producer of. And speaking of bad films, that seems like a perfect segue for us to get into our review of Justin Simien's Bad Hair.
Guys, this was a movie.
But wait.
Not yet.
I'm so excited. Go ahead.
Not yet. Because first, we have to give you trailer talk. This is the innocuous chat that happens on our live stream that will be edited out of the podcast because we'll be playing the trailer at this time.
So if you've gone out there and you've discovered who really killed Biggie, this is when you should tell us.
Please. Do you know who really killed Biggie? Oh.
It was me. I did it.
Okay.
Plot twist.
All right. Well, I did not see that one coming. But thank you. So Jordan, for trailer talk, and this is primarily for the people that are here watching, I've got to ask, what is that back there on the mannequin?
It's something. Oh, okay. So we've all been in the house every day, all the time, and it's a lot. It's a whole lot. So sometimes I'll go on Etsy and I'll put like everything in my cart, and then when I get like real sad because we just been in the house, we're not going anywhere, I'll just check something out. So that's what that was. That mannequin as well as a kimono, because I was like, oh, I wear kimonos now.
Which is a thing. Like,
yeah.
People who wear kimonos.
There are definitely people. I am not one of them, but for a brief moment, I was like, "Oh, I wear kimonos," and then after next week, I was like, "I wear lederhosen."
Okay, all right, that's cool. I don't go on Etsy. I have a lot of stuff loaded up in my Amazon cart. That I haven't pulled the trigger on yet. Yeah. I think the dumbest thing that I've got in my Amazon cart is a case of Fiddle Faddle, because I can't.
You gotta just hit the nail on that.
Between you and the chocolate chip cookies, like does someone need to go check on you? Now I'm concerned. You got one more suspicious thing to say, and I'm gonna send somebody to do a wellness check on you.
I can't find Fiddle Faddle. All I find is Crunch and Munch. I don't like Crunch and Munch.
What's the difference?
Oh Lord.
Crunch and Munch is more caramel. Well, Fiddle Faddle is butter toffee, and it's totally different. It's lighter.
Now, why don't you just go ahead and buy it?
I don't know, because it seems like
Fiddle Faddle expensive.
We gotta get this man some Fiddle Faddle.
It's not expensive, but it's like it's one of them impulse things. Like, nah, I don't need this. And do I need a case of fiddle faddle in my house? You know what I mean? So that's why I don't do it. So it just sits there at the bottom of my cart.
You gotta treat yourself to some fiddle faddle. Live a little.
You got to treat yourself to some fiddle faddle.
Yeah,
I do. I need to get out of the house. That's what I need to do. I need to get out of it. How about you, Jordan? You're saying you've been stuck in the house lately. How are you handling it?
Oh boy, it's just been so much fun. I just like to say one thing. If y'all could just wear your masks so we could go outside, I would just like to go outside. Thank you to everyone who is already outside, our essential workers. Thank you to those people.
Amen.
Thank you to our medical community. Thank you for everybody who's been wearing their mask. If you haven't been wearing your mask, please see me after the show. But if you've been wearing your mask, I just want to go outside. It's a whole lot. Anyway, what was the question?
Orphan Pixel says that she doesn't have a big, not have a big enough home for kimono wearing, and
you don't know my life. Don't tell me how big my home.
Apparently, you need space for a kimono.
Excuse me.
And Deborah Battle says, "I didn't know that anyone still ate fiddle faddle." Well,
well, you never know what we're going to be talking about on here.
That's why it's called Trailer Talk, and it gets edited out of the show. All right, it's time for us to get into.
There's no real closure to the kimono or the fiddle saddle. We just stop talking about it.
Pretty much. All right, let's get into our review of Bad Hair. Hold that thought, Gabe, because George Kimono already sensed that you were ready to go in. So just hold that thought. Bad Hair. In 1989, an ambitious young woman gets a weave in order to succeed in an image-obsessed world of music television. However, her flourishing career may come at great cost when she realizes that her new hair may have a mind of its own. This 2020 satirical horror film, written and directed by Justin Simien of Dear White People fame, stars Elle Lorraine, Jay Farrow, Lena Waithe, and Vanessa Williams. And it was the selection of Jordan Kauwling on her third trip here on the Micheaux mission. Jordan, what say you? I'm going to put you in the middle. Let's put you in the middle here.
Uh-oh.
Bam. Uh-oh.
Jordan in the middle. Where's she at?
In the middle. What say you of Bad Hair?
Oh boy, this movie. There were so many parts in this movie where I was just like, well, why did they do that? There was no one else here for me to talk to. I was just talking to myself. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? I'm looking around. Why did they do that? This is a movie. It had everything. It had characters. It had actors. It had. I'm assuming it had a script. Oh boy. There is so much about this movie that I just love. And kind of in the same way when we were talking about Dave Chappelle, then you made the point of just like, because of my love of Dear White People and my love for Justin Simien and my love for Black comedy and Black horror, I just was so... I was just disappointed that I was just disappointed. This movie is crazy. Let's just say that. It is wild. It's a wild ride. I don't really know where it was going, but yeah.
Yeah.
The shame of it is I'm not sure the film knew where it was going either. And I think that might be the problem with it. I'm curious though, I'm curious, was it just because you wanted an excuse to watch the film that you chose this movie to review?
I chose this movie to review because I was really excited to see it. I was really excited about the cast. I was really excited to see Jay Farrow from SNL in another movie. I was really excited to see this movie. And I've been on, you asked me earlier about how I've been like making my way downtown during this quarantine. And one thing that I've been doing is obsessively, subconsciously pulling my hair out. And I started doing it like a month into the pandemic. And I started pulling it out so much that I was like, I got to do something about this. And so I restarted this hair journey that a lot of Black women go on, where you're relaxed and maybe you decide to go natural, or maybe you get, a sew-in, or maybe you get locks, or so all the different options. So I decided to put micro locks in, which are under this scarf. And so I was really excited to come on and talk to you guys about a movie about women's struggle, Black women's very unique, not that Black men don't also struggle, and Black non-binary people, but Black women's unique struggle with our hair. And that's not what this movie is about, but that's what I thought it was about. So that's why I picked it.
It's interesting. I kind of thought that the movie was going to be a little bit about that as well. And I definitely was in the bag to like this because of Justin Simien, because of Dear White People, because of, the movie and the show, so I was real interested in checking it out. The first thing that just really like, all right, what I liked about the movie, let's get this out of the way. The one thing I enjoyed about the movie was the satirical look at MTV, BET in the 80s and into the 90s. I enjoyed that. It was so on point. It was so on the nose. Kelly Rowland basically being Janet Jackson.
Janet Jackson's lawyers need to be quite litigious about this movie. If I was poor Janet Jackson just sitting down in my house to watch a movie, let's watch Bad, I would have my lawyer on speed dial, because the way they did this Kelly Rowland's character.
Why? I mean, she would. I mean,
I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I would be upset.
But apparently, she's a tree witch.
apparently, but I liked that. I enjoyed that. Right. I thought that was, and especially when she was doing the video, because she was like spot on. I was like, did they get Janet Jackson? Did they get like computer imagery of Janet Jackson from back in the day for this video? It was like spot on, right? And then they took a slight jab. I think the fellas are either supposed to be a cross between Belle Biv DeVoe or New Edition or the Boys. I don't know what they were, but they were kind of like, in the background doing their little thing. I was like, let's see what you're doing there.
That was Ralph Tresvant hatred. That's what that was. That was
is that what that was?
Unmitigated Ralph Tresvant slander.
I don't know about that, but
I know about it. That's what it was.
All right, fair enough. So I appreciated that. If the movie had leaned in more on that, and it just kind of like, I think at the end of the day, the problem with this movie is that it doesn't pick a lane. It doesn't know where it wants to be. It wants to be hysterical. It wants to be horror, but you have to kind of like lean one way or the other. You know what I mean? Because you can be both, but one is going to supersede the other. You can't try and do 50% of one and 50% of the other, because it just doesn't marry well. And that kind of like let me down in this movie, along with, for some reason, the direction of this movie just seemed real off. It seemed like there were camera angles that absolutely made positively no sense. They didn't add anything to the storytelling whatsoever. Like there's a moment with somebody, the lead character, I think her name is Anna. I think Anna, her sister comes and visits her. And there's a moment when the camera is looking at them in the doorway from the ceiling for no reason. Like they're barely on the screen. It doesn't add anything to the story. It doesn't, illustrate or add any nuance to what's happening because they're basically just there. Hey, I'm here and I brought something for you. And then you cut to they're in the living room. It adds nothing to it. It's like, why are you doing this? There was just direction to this film that just seemed just like almost amateurish, and that really like just like, whoa, I don't know what you're doing, bruh. This is not working. Whatever you're trying, whatever you think you're doing, it ain't working. And this movie didn't work for me.
Yeah, I think you said something, Jordan, about being disappointed, and as a couple as I'll just join you two. Like I'm a fan of Justin Simien. Like we love the film Dear White People. I think the first 2 seasons of Dear White People are fantastic. I really like this cast. Like I really, really like this cast. But I have to say I was not disappointed because disappointment implies expectation. And I have to say, this is what I'm about to say, I ruffled Gina Price Bythewood a little bit. I think I ruffled her feathers with what I'm about to say. But I think the subject of Black women's hair is so complicated and so nuanced and such a sensitive subject that I always expect that somebody's going to fumble it. And I really I really had no expectations of a man making this film about Black women's hair. And then it lands on weaves are evil, like literally evil. These weaves are literally evil. So that I just think it just flattens the conversation so much in a way, like if you're going to use an aspect of Black culture to kind of, as a metaphor to do something fantastic. Like in my mind, the gold standard at this point really is Get Out. Like I think Get Out just perfectly captured what it's like to have that kind of ambient fear of being the one Black person with white people. And then how society kind of gaslights you. Like, oh, it's not crazy. You're losing your mind. Or in my mind, the best episode of Lovecraft Country this season with Bopsy and Topsy, where Misha Green and company really looked through stereotype and the horror of stereotype. And if you don't have that level of sensitivity with this subject, I like it fell as flat as like as soon as I heard about this movie and I like triple checked when it said Justin Simien directed it. I said, oh, who wrote the script? And as soon as I saw he wrote the script, I said in my head, oh yeah, he's gonna F this up. And he did. And the bad part is to something you just said, Lynn, I don't even think that part was necessary. Like a film about MTV and about image and about, the sort of push and pull of Black culture becoming pop culture in the 80s could have carried the whole movie. Like you didn't even need all this other stuff. So
but to be fair, a movie that focuses on Black women, their image of themselves and how the world perceives them, and the whatever inner or outer struggle that creates. There's enough there to fill up a film, and there's enough there even if you want to mix it in some kind of crazy way with, like old lore and such. There's something there to be mined as well, but it's a matter of picking a lane. I see what you're saying as far as him being the writer, that you want to have a woman in the room to help mine that. But I also recognize that there are men who can write good stories about women, with women protagonists, that speak on women's issues in a way that offers at least some type of thoughtful insight or nuance to it. Or in this case, with a horror movie, let's face it, this was a horror movie. We weren't expecting Citizen Kane coming out of this thing, right? You know what I mean? You're expecting to have fun. So at least have fun with it in a respectful way, or not even a respectful way. Just have fun with the whole thing. But you got to choose a lane. You got to choose which way you want to go. Either you want to be funny or you want to be horrific. And this movie is neither horrific and nor is it neither funny. And the problem is that it's trying to be both, and it's failing.
It definitely failed. There was one point toward the end of the movie where Anna comes across Vanessa Williams' character, and Vanessa Williams, all of a sudden, she starts tapping into like her Ugly Betty character.
Yeah.
She's like very funny. And I was just like, why didn't they do this? It's like they brought them back in like 6 months later, and she was like, how about we do this? I play this funny, this scene. It's like it's correct. There was such a missed opportunity. There's so much that they could have done with the whole cult or culture story and BET versus MTV. Loved it. Loved where they were going, but it was not enough for anything that they were trying to do with this. Wasn't scary enough for it to be a horror, and it didn't stick to. It didn't follow logical sense enough for me to kind of like extend disbelief and be in the moment in a horror movie. But it also just wasn't funny enough. There were moments that I thought were funny, but not nearly enough.
Right. When Vanessa, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Vincent.
No, when Vanessa Williams says at one point, when Anna asks her about her experience and is this happening across the city, and Vanessa Williams says, "Let me check with my Killer Weave support group." I don't know what the hell is going on either. Much like you, I was like, well, this is the character that I wanted for the past 2 hours.
It's like you didn't think to workshop that, so you could come there a little bit closer to, 5 minutes before the movie is over.
Exactly.
Like you have Vanessa Williams, you have Robin Thede, you have Laverne Cox. I mean, even Blair Underwood, you have this amazing cast.
Why is Nicole Byer in only 2 scenes?
Nicole Byer's in 2 scenes.
Thank you. I mean, and not doing anything in either of them, really.
Not right. I mean, you have this great cast, and they're just like you're not utilizing them.
Right. I think also it's funny that in a lot of interviews that Justin does, he talks about kind of not wanting to be people will often interview him and ask him about like a Spike Lee comparison. All Black, directors have to be compared to Spike Lee or to Tyler Perry and find, where you kind of fit in. And that he kind of resents that comparison, and that, and I think I find it funny because similarly to Spike Lee, I think Justin had no business writing a movie about, Black women's hair. And I think that similarly to Spike Lee, look, my favorite Spike Lee movie is Crooklyn. And it was no surprise to me to find out that like his, sisters really had everything to do with why I love Crooklyn so much. And I think that had he decided he was I'm gonna write this thing, I'm gonna produce this thing, I'm gonna do it all, I'm gonna direct it. The fact that I want to know what Black women were in the room with him, guiding that way, or why he didn't think to just have a Black woman write this. Because I think that, why didn't you just do that? Why didn't you do that, Justin? I know you're watching.
I mean, I mean, he had one of the preeminent black directors and writers right there wasting her time on film, and Lena Waithe. Like, why don't you just tell her, like, why don't you just punch up, if nothing else, your lines in this movie, and then maybe we've got something.
You're dirty for that. Yeah. You're not wrong, though. Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, like, there was the whole deal with Nicole Byer, Blair Underwood, like the whole family dynamic. You were supposed to feel something there. They feel like they're in a whole nother movie, that you could like excise those couple of scenes out of the movie. You wouldn't miss anything. You say that you like the cast, Vince. I like the cast, the name, but like we just said, Nicole Byer's not doing anything. Blair Underwood is used for exposition mostly, and even then it's the barest exposition. He basically opens a book and points to a page and says, "I'll see you later, I gotta go to bed." Vanessa Williams, I guess she's having fun. I mean, she's doing whatever. But the leads, Elle Lorraine, I think it's kind of like straining a little bit. But I think for the most part, she's well cast. I don't know if she's well directed. Jay Farrow, I've heard a lot of people cape up for Jay Farrow. I don't see it myself. I don't see charisma off of him. I don't see any especially great talent.
I think that works for him in this role, though. Not to interject. I actually agree with you. I've never understood the Jay Farrow train, but I think as the receptionist who basically gets promoted through, you know, this sort of like he kind of trips up, like he fails up.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was the perfect person because he had no charisma. Like when they said why does he have this job? I actually was thinking that when they first showed him. I was like, why has he got the job? So I don't know if that was deliberate, but he actually worked for me.
No, it's interesting because I was thinking that, you know, when I saw his name in the credits, so like, why did he get this role? Because he has no charisma. And I don't see why, and it's evident on the screen. I don't think he comes across as, I don't feel for him as a bad guy. I don't feel for him as a good guy. I didn't find him funny. I found him actually like be kind of like just a black hole of nothing in this movie. Like
kids love Jay Farrow. I don't know. I don't get it.
And like I would have actually liked to see him waste his time in the Usher role and let Usher play his role.
No, but Usher makes sense though. Like Usher makes sense as the VJ.
No, he makes sense, but I mean, I don't know. Hey.
I think you cast Drake in this role. Pre-beard Drake.
Pre-beard Drake. That's a good one.
Pre-beard Drake. That's very specific too. I like that.
Yeah, because beard Drake, still, I don't want to hear it, but it's like, okay. But
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, Beard Drake, Beard Drake, I'll listen to what he has to say. And like pre-beard Drake, I'm like, you know.
You did this to yourself, Jordan.
I did it to myself.
You did.
Pre-beard Drake is like, don't talk to me like that. But Beard Drake, what was the question?
It was, can you eat fiddle faddle while wearing a kimono?
You just gotta see it. Check it out for yourself. You just gotta check it out for yourself. It's dynamic.
That's coming to an Instagram near you very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Watch on Micheaux Mission. And the other thing is, how is this movie so long?
Dude, here's the thing though. It's only an hour and 43 minutes, but it feels long.
Oh, dude. I thought I was watching Bridge Over the River Kwai. This joint was so long.
Well, I think it's like a 20-minute segment at the end where the hair is chasing her.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I'm
like, wow, this is still going on, huh?
And then they stole the scene. Then they stole the ending straight out of Signs, and they just got the hair wet.
Yeah.
At
Yes.
the end it was just water all the time.
Which makes no logical sense because she got the hair wet and the hair was able to like regenerate itself or something like that. This movie, my main point with this movie is that this movie makes no sense, and it knows it makes no sense, and it's just like,
sure.
Where are you going? You're home. We're all home. Just watch this movie.
You're in it now.
You're in it now. I was really intrigued by. Okay, so first of all, I'll say I love that this movie is set. Was it 1989?
1989.
I love the that we're in this time capsule of Blackness that like in like other movies and television shows that are set in the late 80s or early 90s, when you see Black people, I'm the kind of Black person, when I see period pieces like the Bly Manor that just came out on Netflix, mm-hmm. When I see period pieces that are like in the 80s or in the 90s, I always look at the Black people and I'll be like, is that what we were wearing? Because I feel like white people don't really, in the writers'
they don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah, they don't actually know.
Yeah. So I'm always interested when Black directors and Black writers create entertainment that's set in the 80s or the 70s or the 90s, because like you can kind of look to those fashions. So I was really interested in, what this movie was getting right for me. And that was one of those things that I love, that it was set in the late 80s. I loved, the music that people were listening to. Then, like you said, with Kelly, when the Kellys rolled in and she was playing this Janet character, I loved the music video. I loved all of that. And I feel like
the shoulder pads. I saw all the shoulder pads.
I had an array of vests over colorful shirts.
I feel like this movie really didn't need the horror killer weave, stolen, Simpsons plotline. I feel like it didn't need that. I feel like that could have been in a whole different movie, and this could have just been about cult/culture and her ascension and kind of losing herself in it, and the fact that she low-key like invented BET's Uncut, and just like
right,
yeah. Give me that movie. I want to see that movie.
Orphan Pixel says that Jordan nails it. Horror needs rules.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, because you're feeling like the setup, but then you want to see, okay, how is this going to play out? Like the hair needs blood to sustain itself. That's why it kills, and that's why it had a little bit of a disturbing scene when it
what was that?
When she was in the restroom and the
oh boy,
that was
what was that? What was that about?
That is literally what I said after that scene. I was like, what was that? What was that?
Yeah, because ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, the hair while Anna is in the restroom and looks like she's about to take care of herself, because it is a certain time of the month, the hair uses that as an opportunity to quench its thirst, if you will. And that was, it's like, whoa, this took a turn.
This movie doesn't know what it wants to be. So it's like, are we, like hentai? Like, or what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing, movie?
I'm mad you went hentai.
Pick a lane and drive. I don't know why.
And then at first I thought maybe it was going to be a reversal, and the hair was empowering because it killed the guy that was trying to rape her. And I was like, okay, so maybe we're going for I spit on your grave deal.
Right, exactly. Right.
But I was upset that man, like he was like, this landlord, this dirty landlord guy that preys on young Black women, and he just so happens to also be he's a rapist, and he's also a racist, and it's just like he could have just been a landlord. We didn't need to do all that movie. Like,
right. She just owed rent. That's all.
Yeah, nobody likes their landlord. It's fine. You could have just been the
nobody likes their landlord. It's so true.
Exactly. I guess they didn't have the budget for all those different characters, so we'll just roll them in to this one character.
Right.
And give him a beer.
Yes, and we'll give him a beer. And the turn for him to all of a sudden just be like, you know, what I also didn't like is that he implies that this has happened before. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that she was complicit with it before, you know? And I was like, whoa, so what are you also saying about her character as well? Like, there's a lot not to like about Bad Hair. For me, anyway. But Jordan, would you recommend that people watch Bad Hair?
Would I recommend that people watch it?
Yes.
I mean, you're in the house anyway. You're not going anywhere. You ain't got nothing to do. So I recommend you watch it.
That is recommendation.
I recommend you watch it for Vanessa Williams' performance, because I think that at 3/4 of the way into this movie, they figured out her character, and it was lovely. Watch it for watch it for that.
Okay, all right.
Or don't watch it. If somebody asks, just be like, "You got to check it out for yourself." You got to it's dynamic.
Vince, where do you land?
I would not recommend this film, and I don't actually have a sentence after that.
I'm mad to say I actually did recommend this film to somebody just the other day, but primarily for somebody who was in a very, very bad mood. And I said, this is a silly enough a movie that it should make you feel. You can have a stupid laugh at it.
You know, Smokey and the Bandit is streaming. You should have recommended Smokey and the Bandit.
No, nobody's watching Smokey and the Bandit, Vince.
It's got Jackie Gleason in it.
Jackie Gleason says, "Remind me to punch your mother in the mouth," which is not a good thing to say in real life, but it's an amazing movie line.
It is an amazing movie line, especially when read by the great one, Jackie Gleason.
Smokey and the Bandit. You should have recommended that.
Well, I wasn't aware of that. So maybe I will next time, Vince. Next time I will recommend. So you're saying I should recommend Smokey and the Bandit as opposed to Bad Hair? Is that what you're saying, Vince?
If I had to choose between Smokey and the Bandit and Bad Hair, I would choose Smokey and the Bandit.
Okay, all right.
And we're recording.
All right. Well, that's where we land. But don't let us be your judge, ladies and gentlemen. Check out Bad Hair. Like Jordan said, you've got nothing else to do.
Or Smokey and the Bandit.
Watch them both. Where are you going? You can watch them both. You can watch 2 movies. You're not going anywhere.
Eat some fiddle faddle. Watch
some fiddle faddle.
Bad Hair.
Put your kimono on.
Eat some fiddle faddle and sit down for some Justin Simien and Burt Reynolds double feature, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, that's good movies. All right.
At least one of them is.
Yeah, you choose. All right. Well, that's our review of Bad Hair, ladies and gentlemen. And Jordan Kauwling, thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the mission. We really appreciate it.
Good to see you.
It was so good to see you both. Thank you so much for having me back on the show. I love the Micheaux Mission. I love you guys. And thank you so much for having me on. Thank you to the listeners. And yeah, thanks, everyone.
And if you want to holler at Jordan, ladies and gentlemen, you can hit her up on Twitter at Cinnamon La Femme. That is her Twitter handle.
If you want to argue with me about lost plot points from 2007 that don't matter because Lost not on TV anymore, you can hit me up on Twitter. That's what I do best, is argue with bots.
My sister actually just, I don't think she's done. She just is watching Lost for the first time. So she's.
Oh, how's that going?
Well, she's getting to the point where I think she's realizing, I don't think they know what they're doing. I was like, yeah.
They don't.
It's like a red wedding in Lost. Like people are watching, and you're just waiting for them to get to that point, and you're like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's funny you brought that up. I was just thinking about because I just finished. I've been binging. I had a couple of binges, and I finally just finished my binge of all things King of the Hill. Which was a good show, very underrated show.
And that's the last thing. Now I'm doing a wellness check on you. The chocolate chip, the fiddle faddle, and now King of the Hill. I need somebody to actually go check on Lynn.
He said, I left you all the clues.
You almost got out of here. Almost got out of here.
I left you all the clues, Jordan. Anyway, if it's any consolation, I am now returned, now that I finished that, returned to my rewatch of The Legend of Korra. So that's what I'm watching now. Okay? Is that good, Vince? Is that good?
I've actually seen Avatar. I've started it 3 times, and I've gotten through like 2 episodes, and then I get distracted.
Okay, well,
my nerd cred is strong enough to withstand that blow, though.
I don't know, but if you say so. Jordan, give us real quick. Give us a thought for the day as we shut down our show.
No pressure.
My thought for the day is that although Bad Hair was a bad movie, if you are a person, whether you're a person of color or you are a person of no color, and you have an idea, go out and do it. If you want to be creative, go out there and do it. If you have a passion for something in life, go out there and do it. And I'll say this really quickly. I've known Lynn and Vince for a couple of years now. I started out doing radio and podcasting in my spare time, and I was able to make a career out of it. If there's something that you want to do, if you don't see anybody around you doing it, go out and find somebody doing something that you want to do, and don't feel like you can't do what you want to do, because you can do it. So for all the creatives out there, you too can go out there and make a bad movie. And I will watch it. Or I won't watch it, but I'll tell people I watched it. So.
And that's one to grow.
Inspirational, and then it was just confusing.
I lost it. It was like halfway through, like the movie Bad Hair. Like halfway through, I was like, "What is going on here?"
Right. It's like you landed on the 3rd season of Lost.
I checked in with my brain, and my brain was like, "She's blowing it," and I was like, "I depend on you for."
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any feedbacks, thoughts, and concerns, you can email us at micheauxmission@gmail.com. Like and follow us on all the social medias at the Micheaux Mission. And the Micheaux Mission is available as a podcast, as a proud member of The Podglomerate. ThePodglomerate.com, curated podcast for your earbuds. You can also like and follow us on YouTube as well. And go to the micheauxmission.com, where we've got swag available. Just hit swag and check out all of the cool designs that we have available from TeePublic right there for your buying pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. The Micheaux Mission airs as a radio show in an edited form every Saturday at 1 p.m. on WPPM 106.5 FM, Philly Cam, People Power Media.
Philly Cam.
Here in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And you can wake up with the Micheaux Mission every Monday morning at 9 a.m. on WKDU FM 91.7 FM, the voice of Drexel University. All right. And don't forget to go to the micheauxmission.com and become a follower and a subscriber to the Micheaux Mission Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, letting you know what's happening, what movies are coming up, as well as other tidbits and stories and features that we have going on there every week. The Micheaux Mission Dispatch, our weekly newsletter. All right. Next week here on the Micheaux Mission, we are going to skip across the pond, as it were. We're going to go over to England as we speak to Damien Swaby of the Filmmaking Conversations podcast. And we will be reviewing from 1991, Young Soul Rebels.
All right.
Interesting feature film that talks about the tensions between skinheads and the soul boys in the 70s United Kingdom. So
another period piece.
Another period piece. Yes, indeed, Vince. That promises to be a lot of fun. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, that's Jordan. I'm Len. He's Vince. And in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.
And Ariel Johnson says King of the Hill is a great show. I'm just putting it out there. Put it out there right there before we end the show.